Alright, and this is me spinning part 2. Alright. So, I haven't done anything with this since I left off. Now this, what I showed in my spinning part 1, as you can see, this is all of everything that I've ever spun before. So I'm far from perfect at it. And personally, so far, myself, I find the wool harder to spin. A little bit harder to spin. The mohair, the fibers are longer, and I find it easier to work with. I find that with the wool, it's almost too easy to go from really super thick to really thin, and I tend to break it a lot. But then again, if I'd had someone teach me right off the bat, I've read that people say it's a lot harder to work with mohair. But that's like what I started with, and I find it much easier to work with than the wool. So, yes, that's partly just personal opinion. And since I'm still a beginner, I think it's interesting to see people who are just beginning to spin versus people who have been spinning for years and whatnot. And I find it especially interesting since not many people teach themselves. I guess not many people that make videos have taught themselves, I should say. It's not that I found. And when I first started, I started with park and draft. park and draft, I think, definitely helps to learn. Excuse me. So that you're learning mostly drafting, and then you're learning, once you go from park and draft to standing like I am, then you're not learning to draft and worrying about keeping your spindle going around. And I think that helps. And as far as park and draft, once I started doing it standing up, I kind of got bad at the park and draft. But I'm going to see if I can work on my park and draft method and maybe do a video on that as well. Here is how much I have done. It doesn't really take a long time once you kind of get into the groove of it and figure out what to do with your hands. It's not as slow as some people might think it is to do. Right, well that's all I have for right now, but stay tuned for park and draft.